Hello,
Hello.
I'm Carla Brown, and this is,
Arlena Black.
and we are
Don't mess with the mamas. MOMMAS.
Thank you so much. You are the
protagonist
protagonist of your life,
life,
and
not the victim of your destiny.
Hey,
Hey,
we did it.
how are you?
Very good, very good. So today we're going to be talking about the trust epidemic. And Arlena, what does trust mean to you?
Well, I think I'm going to share something because I think that this really explains trust. And if I can find it. But trusting is also very similar to being a friend. It's being vulnerable, allowing yourself to open up to somebody else or maybe a whole group of people. And what I found really interesting is this phrase that I'm getting to now. Sorry. Ultimately, the difficulty in trusting stems from the tension between the human need for connection and cooperation and the very real possibility of harm a balance of individuals constantly navigates. And I think that that is that two-way street. You want to be able to trust, but especially now we're living in a time of such lack of correct information. What do you trust? Do you trust your doctor? Do you trust the person you think is your friend? Do you trust somebody across the ocean? It's a really difficult thing. And I know, having grown up in New York, you learn not to trust. But without trust, we can't ever achieve anything. World peace, especially, has to start with trust between individuals, and that comes from lots of dialogue. But I think, allowing yourself to be vulnerable and being open to new possibilities and different people, different backgrounds, whatever it is, not to be closed off. If you're closed off, you'll always mistrust. And even actually, when you look at psychological illnesses today, that stems a lot from being closed off in so many ways to others. So what about you? What is trust and why is it important?
Well, with the little research that I did, trust is what holds everything together.
The glue, huh?
The glue that keeps everything together. So you have trust in your family, you have trust in your government, you have trust in your doctor, you have trust in so many different things. You trust that the sun will shine even if it's cloudy and rainy. You know that the sun is going to come up in the morning. It means to be consistent. Do the words and the actions match? So that you can trust it.
I'm going to interrupt you because what you just said is so important. And so many times people lose trust because people make idle promises and then they don't follow through. It's not just in the political realm, it's even in families. Somebody promises you something or a friend promises you something and doesn't follow through. So then you begin to lose trust. And that's true in all realms of society. So I think what you just said, to be able to follow through, to say something and then actually to take action based on those words, I think that really embodies and it builds trust.
Yeah, it's about making a commitment.
Yeah.
And I think that people are not trained in keeping commitments. When we were working with the young people, we had different art groups for them. They could do this or they could do that or that. But they had to commit themselves to one area for the whole year. That they were going to be with those people doing that project or whatever that project was for that particular time, and not running from place to place to place. They were able to build trust with their friends.
Right.
Because then they know how they're going to act, what they like, what they don't like. Oh no, come over here. You said you were going to be with us. So it's really that we have to be trained in being committed to people, places, things.
And I think commitment is difficult. And I think a lot of people fear commitment. And I think it's fear of the other. There's a brilliant philosopher, Martin Buber, and he talked about, the other. And a lot of times we look outside of ourselves as if that's the other and that person has no connection to me, right? And committing to a dialogue or committing to be able to build trust, that's a lot. That means that you yourself have to open up in ways that you may not want to. So overcoming that, what we call cape of fear, going beyond that cape of fear, that's when you really find out what life is like. Then everything opens up for you.
Yeah.
But if you're always living in that small circle and afraid to, really share your life, then you never really grow, as you said. Absolutely.
Right.
Go ahead. You have lots of notes there.
Okay. Yeah. I think that disappointments are a major reason why people don't trust.
Yep.
And that starts when you're very young.
Yes.
Your parents don't keep a promise. The person you love didn't act right, or you got your heart broken. So once you lose trust, it's hard for you to regain it, and then that means that you have to challenge yourself to trust,
But, it doesn't mean that you need to be open to everything. I mean, there might be a risk. It might be that somebody is telling you the wrong thing, and you put your full trust in that person. And I think trauma in particular stems from that, because here you're trusting family members, and we know how much abuse there exists in society, whether it be sexual, emotional, physical abuse. So you do have to be savvy. You can't be just naive about things.
No, yes.
But to build trust, you have to be able to have open dialogue. You must, and you must also be aware of what's going on in the world. You can't be, once again, you can't be naive,
Yeah. So Arlena,
Yep.
what has been your personal experiences with trust?
So actually from 2 points. One is I did have a lot of disappointments growing up, so it has been really, really hard for me to trust. And again, growing up in a big city where you do have to look over your shoulder because there's lots of different people and not everybody has the best of intentions. So so I think it's been really a struggle for me to develop trust. But I have to say that I find that overcoming fear, trusting, to me, is one of the most important issues of the day. And when I was doing my graduate studies at Columbia University, had I gone on for my doctorate, I was going to actually explore the idea of, developing trust among nations, So I think that that's one of the most important things to really look at, is once again, I can't emphasize enough, dialogue. That's how you begin to develop trust, and be open to dialogue with people you have absolutely nothing in common with, because there is always, because we're human, we have commonalities. I mean, everybody has commonalities just by virtue of being human. But I know it's been hard for me to really build trust. And I think I still struggle with that. And I think it's a human thing. I think that we are always, I think it's genetic. I mean, in the days of the hunter-gatherers, you better not trust that you're going to go to sleep and no animal's going to come and eat you,
Right.
So, I mean, it's just, we're wired for mistrust, but we must struggle with that.
You talk about trust. I'll just give you a little thing. I was in New York City and I had to go someplace, and it was a holiday, but the website said the place was open.
Right.
Okay. So I went. I said, well, it says it's open, but it wasn't. So it's like, with this technology, you have to really know. You have to know certain things.
Right.
You just can't take it at face value. You have to do your research, and then you make your decision.
Especially with AI now, right?
Oh, yes.
You better not trust everything you see.
No,
You better check things out, for sure.
Yeah. It's going to be really a big thing in the future. Trust.
Right.
It's going to be.
For sure. But it does. Sometimes people have a tendency to go all one way or the other. I'm very trusting. I'm not trusting at all. We have to find a middle ground.
Yes.
You know, we have to be savvy, we have to think, we have to be aware, but we also can't just give up, you know,
Right,
entirely, like what you said about the sun, right?
Yeah.
It's like if we're always questioning everything, we make ourselves neurotic and even psychotic after a while,
yeah.
paranoid, you know, and that's, I think, paranoia comes from that because people really have such a lack of trust. Yeah, it's a biggie. It's the biggie.
Yeah. So let's see.
What else?
Let's see. What else did we want to talk about? What are the ways you can make trust? How can you?
Okay, I'm glad you asked that. So between people, sorry, we did a little bit of our own research because we don't trust our brains anymore. We're getting older. We're getting older. So it's important to be honest and transparent. As you said, follow through on commitments. Sorry, I'm reading. Practice empathy and active listening. And you were just talking about active listening, how important that is. Admit your mistakes. Be able to apologize sincerely. Don't think that you're going to be perfect, and being vulnerable, sharing your authentic self, including your fears, your insecurities, and your personal stories in a safe environment. That can really foster deep connections and emotional safety. And respect boundaries. And especially among cultures, you know, understand certain cultures are not going to look you in the eye, and don't put them down because, you know, they're not looking you in the eye. Or, you know, we really have to know about, especially we have to be sensitive to people's, you know, especially their culture. I think culture is really important. We really have to understand that. And in families, to foster open communication channels, be consistent and reliable, and promote inclusivity and diversity. And you have to be able to address past harms. You have to be able to talk about things that are maybe very uncomfortable. You know, have those, I call them the DDs, the difficult dialogues. Be willing to have the difficult dialogues. In social settings, there are some perceived risks. Trust involves a cost-benefit analysis. If the potential cost of being wrong is perceived as high, the hesitation to trust increases. And it takes time. Building trust takes a long time. You can't be impatient. You can't rush it. You can destroy it in seconds, just like a forest. One match can destroy a forest that has been going for thousands of years. So the same thing, I think, you know, to be willing to be patient, right? And be willing to do the hard work. Do the really hard work. That's why when people who do therapy, it's not like one-time deal. It takes a long period of time. I just want to read this one more time and call it back to you, what I started with. Ultimately, the difficulty in trusting stems from the tension between the human need for connection and cooperation and the very real possibility of harm, a balance that individuals constantly navigate. So what are you thinking?
I'm thinking that for me it's hard to trust. Trust myself.
Okay. Wow, that's an interesting thing.
Okay.
And what do you mean by that?
In the choices that I made. Choices that I made in the past may not have been based on anything correct or, you know, true. And then that has made it difficult for me to trust.
I see.
You know, and then I've started to reflect on, you know, well, I made it through all these different things, so I should trust that I have the ability to continue to go forward, you know. But that the thing of being able to trust yourself, that's a very big.
That's a biggie, and I didn't even think of that, but Carla, that's great. Listeners, viewers, I hope that you have a similar, you know, experience like that. Trusting oneself, yeah, that's a biggie. We don't talk about that so much, but because of past decisions, you may not trust that your decision is correct.
Right.
But I remember one time somebody said to me when we were deciding to move from Manhattan to South Carolina, a big decision, and she said, just make a decision, you know, just trust that your decision is right. Even if it's not right, you'll make it right, you know, but just be willing to make a decision. And sometimes people, because of their past experiences, are even afraid to actually make a decision. Yeah. So so that's a really, really
Yeah.
good point. So what are some things we talked about today?
Okay, so we talked about the difficulty of being able to trust. That it's important to be vulnerable.
Yep.
Okay, to be patient,
Yep.
to be open,
Yep. Very important.
and do the hard work. You know,
And dialogue. You can't say that enough.
you
Dialogue.
have to engage.
Yep.
You have to engage.
Yep.
So
Get some
with that-
encouragement for us today.
Yeah. It says this is from President Ikeda.
Our international President K is our international SGI president, who passed away 2 years ago. But his encouragement is profound, amazing, and it relates to everybody and everything.
Okay, and this is from Today and Tomorrow Daily Encouragement from Daisaku Ikeda. And he says, only if we challenge our human revolution in a manner that is true to yourself will the people around you naturally begin to trust and respect you. That in itself is the greatest way of laying the groundwork for the spread of Nichiren Daishonin's Buddhism, which we chant Nam-myoho Renge Kyo. So I'll read that again. Only if we challenge our human revolution in a manner that is true to yourself will the people around you naturally begin to trust and respect you. That in itself is the greatest way of laying the groundwork for the spread of Nichiren Daishonin's Buddhism.
And when we talk about human revolution, we're talking about battling whatever negativity is in our own life that prevents us from becoming the most capable, happiest person we can and extending our life to others.
Yeah.
So we would love to hear from our listeners and viewers. Don't forget, you can email us at mommas, MOMMAS podcast@gmail.com, and we would love to actually maybe do a Zoom interview with one of you. That would be fabulous. So don't forget, we are
Don't mess with the mamas.
MOMMAS.
Yeah.
With our motto,
You are the protagonist of your life, not the victim of your destiny.
See you.
right,
Bye-bye.
bye-bye.
Bye.